For our CEO Spotlight, I'd like to welcome in Keith Phillips, CEO, Piedmont Lithium Limited. PLL is the ticker symbol. Thank you for joining us. Wanted to get your feeling these days. A lot of people are talking about the world of batteries, right? And the battle that we're having here versus abroad. How are things going?
Well, listen, the good news is the electrification megatrend is very much underway, led by Tesla. So electric vehicles are better cars than internal combustion cars. They're smoother, faster, quieter, and they're far less expensive to own and operate. But there are very few good vehicles available right now. Tesla is the leader, so they're an American company. That's good. Most of the rest of the big EV companies are in China, and China has built out a big electric vehicle supply chain. The one irreplaceable element in an electric vehicle within the battery is lithium. China now produces 83% of the lithium hydroxide. That's the material we'll produce at Piedmont Lithium in North Carolina. That's a big issue for car companies around the world, battery companies around the world, and it's something we aim to help change.
How will you grow? I mean, if they have 83% of this market, obviously a sizable majority, what could be, in a perfect world, in the next 5 years? Could the U.S. take a good portion of that market share?
Yeah, we could. I mean, the good news is the market's small now, growing very rapidly. So lithium hydroxide growth will be 40% a year. It's expected to be 40% a year the next decade or so. So massive growth. So the business will be far bigger in a decade. China's not going away. They're industry leaders. They're technically very strong. They want to grow. They're growing EV penetration there as well. But with growth in electric vehicles in the U.S. and Europe, you're going to see car companies and battery companies over here searching for supplies closer to home, just to get reliance away from China and away from the small number of providers over there who are currently dominate. So certainly U.S. production can grow very dramatically with us and some other players. Where the market share ends up is hard to say. China will decline, I'm sure, from 83% to a smaller number, and the U.S. will become more and more significant.
I noticed it was referred to as a milestone pertaining to the quality of what you're producing. Tell us about that, because I was actually thinking that exactly that, the quality of what you make here versus what we're getting abroad.
Well, you know, there are certain quality standards you need to meet to be able to be qualified with the car companies. So they're selling electric cars with batteries in them that they're warrantying for 100,000 miles or so. So it's very important that the raw materials going into the batteries are of a good quality, have high purity, and have low impurities. There's a lot of secret in the chemistry process, but really the raw material means a great deal. We have very high quality spodumene-based raw material in North Carolina. Spodumene is a mineral that contains lithium. And importantly, all the world's lithium came from North Carolina from the 1950s to the 1980s, essentially all the world's lithium. So it's a fantastic mineral belt that we're on. We have the biggest land position on that belt. And the mineralogy and the metallurgy on those belts, which are technical matters, but very importantly for us, they're exceptionally high quality. So we'll be able to produce a very high quality material. The test work we announced a few weeks back confirmed that. From our perspective, it was really never in doubt, but it was an important step to achieve. So I wouldn't say that we believe we'll be able to produce a better material than the Chinese produce, but we're confident we'll produce as good a material, and that's what we need to do. And it's not just the Chinese. There are some others who are operating in China, and we want to get to that same quality standard.
Sure. Tell me about the electric vehicle market. Are you a fan of not only Tesla, but NIO and Nikola and Workhorse and some of the others' names?
It's just exceptionally exciting. So I was a late adopter to the space, I guess you would say. I was an investment banker for 30 years. I joined Piedmont a little over 3 years ago. I bought a Tesla 2 years ago. And from a driving experience, it's been life-changing. It's the best vehicle I've ever owned. I've been happy with my other cars, but this has been the best car I've ever owned. Again, it's very fast. It's very inexpensive to operate. It's just I have the Model 3, great vehicle. They now have the Model Y out. So Tesla is clearly a leader and kind of a category killer. But there are 12 other global OEMs, VW, Ford, GM, Fiat, Chrysler, et cetera, all coming hard into this business. And then there are many upstarts. You mentioned Nikola. Workhorse, Rivian. There's so many in the U.S. Very exciting sector. I think I'm one that believes that electric vehicle demand will go vertical fairly soon. What I mean by that is, at some point fairly soon, certainly by 2025, everybody will want an electric car. Anyone buying a new car, nobody is going to want an internal combustion car. And the reason is these cars, again, they're smoother, quieter, faster, but they're becoming cheaper to buy. They're already far less expensive to own and operate. There's very little maintenance involved, very few moving parts in an electric car. Fueling by plugging into your wall in your garage, like mine is 20 feet away here in New Jersey, far less expensive than going to a gas station and easier. So you're going to get to a point where it'll be irrational to buy a gasoline car. The residual value on a gasoline car in a lease is going to approach zero. Nobody's going to want to have one. So I think demand will go near vertical. The issue will be the raw material supply chain required to build all these electric cars, lithium as well as some other materials, but particularly lithium. There's just no way the lithium supply chain can be built up at that pace, at that speed. There's a lot of lithium in the world, and we'll be able to produce 100% electric vehicles over time, but it takes a long time to develop a project. And I think there'll be a real supply-demand tension where in the next couple of years, you're going to see dramatic demand growth for lithium and insufficient supply to keep up with that. We'll be a beneficiary of that, we believe.
Yeah. Wow. And you said 40% a year of growth, so that should be stellar. Keith Phillips, nice to see you. The stock is up about 3% today. Nice move for the stock as well. Keith Phillips, CEO, Piedmont Lithium Limited. Thanks for joining us here on The Watch List.